Vanguard!
Mealstrom has risen the ranks and became the Grand Leader of Aqua Force, bearing the title of Admiral. This gives Maelstrom complete access to the full power of the strongest navy known to planet Krayt. But even now, he is penitent for his sins during the War of Liberation. Although Maelstrom himself doesn't see himself worthy to lead Aqua Force, this isn't the case for his many followers, which led to Maelstrom becoming Admiral, but also to unlock his full potential as an unstoppable fighting machine. Blue Storm Dragon Maelstrom is back and stronger than he ever was. This time it's not in a new form, but with new excellent support. Mealstrom has the ability to empower his troops while at the same time become a vanguard of the main attacking force. His first ability allows him once a turn for a cost of a single counterblast to empower the front row with an extra 3k power. This can turn grade 2s into 12k units, which allows them to hit magic numbers, while grade 3s become 15k, which allows them to hit magic numbers if they're boosted by an 8k unit. But Maelstrom's true power comes from his second ability. Once a turn, when his rearguard hits the opponent's vanguard during the third or fourth battle, he can, for the cost of 2 discards, restand himself, thus allowing him to generate an extra free vanguard attack, which still has the twin drive. This is excellent to increase the general pressure of his attacks, as well as fixing your hand size as you get 2 new cards thanks to the twin drive. We are already aware of Maelstrom potential years ago when he was released during the Champions of the Asia Circuit expansion, but with the new support that arrived from Storm the Blue Cavalry, this all changes. But before we dive into the new support, let's tackle Glory Maelstrom, as he too is an integral part of the engine. Glory is an amazing finisher as it can negate any hand size thanks to its impressive guard restriction. To fully take advantage of him, you want to generate attack that requires more than 20k shield, as that results in a scenario where they need a perfect guard to stop the attack, so cards that can become 32k or higher are quite desirable. In the previous iteration of the deck, Glory was your main unit, and ideally you want to go into him as fast as possible. But now, he actually fills the role as finisher and potentially second win condition, as seen as the normal Maelstrom can actually do some powerful plays and potentially win games on its own. Now that we've got a taste of both forms of Maelstrom, let's analyze the new archetype support to understand what it can do. First, we have the new grade 2, which is Drifting Flow Fencer. This is a nice unit that can help us search for our Maelstrom cards, which not only increases the right consistency of the deck, but it can also help us pay for other cards. It also becoming a nice 24k beater helps to fulfill the hit pressure with the normal Maelstrom, as well as generating a strong 34k attack during the Glory turn, which can be unguardable in some cases. The second new card is Bubble Ball Corporal. This grade 1 once again helps us to search for our Maelstrom cards, only now it's on an on-hit effect, which can give us potentially more value over time, especially when paired off with other cards in this new engine. Another great searcher for the Maelstrom engine is Analyze Shooter. This unit is once again a search effect on an on-hit, but this is to get 2 Maelstroms directly from deck. This can help you to set up your right chain into Glory, or it can fetch you your discard targets for other cards. Now, so far we see quite a lot of on-hit effects on the searchers as well as Maelstrom himself, but this is about to change with the following 2 cards, as we have Jeweled Staff Kingfisher Green Elpida. This grade 2 can be a nice 14k beater and 10k interceptor. This works nicely with Glory, as it can become a 24 to 32k beater, but this can also work wonders with the normal Maelstrom, as it can force on-hit effects to resolve. This means if it's boosted by a grade 1 searcher, you can activate their effect no matter what happens. And it also means you can force the restand of Maelstrom every single turn, thus increasing your overall output. Another card that has the same effect is Radiant Assault. This time it's on place effect and it costs a soul. This is another way to forcefully activate those on-hit effects, but on top of that it can potentially give you some extra draw power if you can put a Maelstrom card from your drop zone back into the deck. This is great to reload the deck with extra Maelstrom targets for your various searchers. The fact that we can guarantee our hit effects to resolve means we can generate a whole lot more value, but this is about to go into overdrive with the next grade 2. Prestige Dragon allows us to give our Vanguard an extra drive check and 10k power. This on a Maelstrom that restands is ridiculous, as you get double the value as it stays for both battles. And because Maelstrom doesn't lose any drive checks, means you will have a Vanguard restanding 22k triple drive unit. And if you resolve 2, it's a 32k quadruple drive Vanguard. Thanks to all the searchers, it's really easy to pay a specific discard cost, and if we synergize this with a Radiant Assault, we can immediately shove back the discarded Maelstrom for extra draw power. So far we've seen quite a few cards for the new Maelstrom engine that uses some kind of resources, as we have both the Maelstrom using Counterblast as well as Elpida and Prestigious Dragon, and for Soul we have Analyze Shooter and Radiant Assault that consumes it. In terms of Counterblast, we only need 1 a turn for either one of the Maelstrom Vanguards, but in some cases you don't even need it for the normal Maelstrom. The main use of Counterblast will go towards Prestigious Dragon, as he can give you the most bang for your buck when using it. As for Soul, the main use is for Radiant Assault, but you can use 1 or 2 for Analyze Shooter if you need the extra copies of Mealstrom. Now we have Elpida that uses Counterblast and Radiant Assault that uses Soul to effectively accomplish the same, which is great as you can flow between the two depending on which resources you have available. But in the most ideal situation, you want to rely more on Radiant Assault, as you can have that extra draw power on top of it, which Elpida can provide. As for the triggers, it all comes down to which win condition you want to play on, because if you want to fully bet on the restand of Mealstrom, then going for crits is probably the better choice. But if you want to stick with the Glory Guard Restrict as your main finisher, then going for fronts is the smarter option. Either way, a 8-4-4 split is the best starting point, but when diving into a more OTK strategy, you might want to increase the fronts or crits to a 12-4 split, or maybe even 16 for those who truly have no fear. Now in terms of Axle markers, this is quite fascinating as both could actually work, but depending on your opening hand, Axle 1 might be a way better option for various reasons, because we have the potential of a Vanguard that can have a total of 6 to 10 drive checks. We're going to see a lot of cards, so that 1 or 2 extra cards from the Axle circle won't really change much unless we miss a combo piece to start this whole engine. On top of that, that extra 5k power could actually factually matter when we take Glory's Guard Restrict in consideration, as it can turn an Elpida into a 34k attacker, thus hitting that magic 25k threshold. Now that you understand the new direction of the Maelstrom deck, let's take a look at all this information and put it into practice into this new Maelstrom build. We see all the cards we would expect. We see both Maelstroms as well as the many searchers and the 2 units that enable our on-hit effects. We also see the inclusion of the Grade 3 Searcher, Blue Wave Soldier, Senior Baragius, which is another way to increase the consistency of the deck and to pump up some of our attack numbers. The overall idea of the deck is to filter your deck for as many Maelstrom cards as fast as possible, so you can discard them with Prestigious Dragon, giving your Maelstrom the extra drive checks and power, which will activate on both attacks. To enable most of this, we have Elpida and Radiant Assault that can force our searchers to activate, as well as the restand of Maelstrom. As an alternate win condition, we can still rely on Glory Maelstrom, as Drifting Flow Fencer and Elpida can still make unguardable numbers, which in the past was only possible with Riptide Dragon and Coral Salt. As another tip, you can sometimes get the on-hit effect without relying on Elpida and Radiant Assault, while actually still relying on Elpida and Radiant Assault. This has to do with the fact that Maelstrom's restand has 2 attack windows, the 3rd and 4th attack. So if either of those attack hits, you can restand him. You can resolve an Elpida or Radiant Assault to force it off, but this will cost you resources to do so. But luckily, Elpida only needs to pay the cost when she's going to attack, so we can use her as a threat and signal that we're going to use her to restand the Vanguard. This can result in the fact that your opponent might take the other attack, which results into you resending your Vanguard for free. To create a scenario where this might happen, you want to have a column standing with a strong booster, so the column is pretty costly to guard, so another Elpida or a grade 3 with a Baragius can be a 25 to 28k attack. Then for the other column, you want an unboosted Elpida. This heavily incentivizes them to take this strong column, as it will cost them 20k shield to stop an attack, while they could also just use 5k shield to stop the other column. Both scenarios will result into the fact that the Vanguard restands. Only in one, you used an extra counterblast to enable it. So use this information to your advantage. Now that we've seen the focus on the old Maelstrom, let's look at a build that takes this concept but use it to empower the glory win condition. So we see once again some of the core cards, as we have both Maelstroms as well as some of the searchers and enablers, but quite a few are replaced for other cards to take more advantage of Glory Maelstrom. One such a card is Coral Assault. This is basically another 24k beater that can hit magic numbers with Glory Maelstrom, just like Drifting Flow Fencer. Tidal Assault is another great tool that increases our general pressure. It being a 19k attacker that swings twice on an axial circle is pretty devastating if it can only be stopped with one card, especially if we hit one front trigger, as then we have two 29k attacks that can only be blocked with heals and sentinels. The final new card is Tyrannite Theo. This is here to empower more of our units, as the 8k on top of one of our attackers while our opponent is under the guard restrict of Glory Maelstrom can be devastating. This 8k can be given to a Tidal Assault, turning him into a 27k unit, so against a non-force will still swing twice over the 15k threshold. Now Theo might be hard to trigger, but it combos nicely with Radiant Assault, thus giving us 100% access to Theo's power buff. The idea of this deck is to go into Glory Maelstrom and generate high-powered attacks that our opponent can't guard. With Coral Assault, Drifting Flow Fencer, and the power-up Tidal Assault, we can easily generate 4 attacks that requires heals or sentinels, which most likely aren't available. But on top of that, we can use Prestine Dragon to give Glory the extra 10k and Drive Check, not only turning him into a 14k attacker, thus making him practically unguardable, but it also gives him an extra drive, increasing the chance of hitting a front trigger, turning all your attacks into PG or GG. Of course, Prestine Dragon and Radiant Assault still fulfill the role of supporting the old Maelstrom, as you can use them to swing with a double, triple drive Vanguard, setting you up for a great glory swing the following turn, as this most likely will force some heals or sentinels off of your opponent, while also drawing into many attackers you need for glory. Besides the 2 builds we just discussed, there are many different options and directions you can take the deck. You can include more multi-attackers like Algos or Terrific Coil Dragon. You can incorporate more beaters like Riptide Dragon or Shotgun Assault. Depending on which direction you want to take the deck and what your ultimate win condition is, will influence your personal deck. Blue Storm Dragon Mealstrom is a dragon that truly leads the strongest army of Planet Grey, as he can adapt to many different strategies and playstyles. While Mealstrom has 2 clear win condition with his restand power as well as guard restrict, he can smoothly adjust to the environments to still come out on top. And it's this feature that might keep Mealstrom in the game for many years. Use this video as a starting point to develop your own build, as all the information in this video were designed to give you guys a core foundation of information needed to start building a deck for this particular boss unit. So with that notion, try to experiment with different cards, different strategies, as well as other trigger lineups and maybe marker choice to develop your own personal playstyle. If you like this type of content and you want to see more deck spotlights on different boss units, then check out this playlist where we go over many other boss units, including the other boss units of VBT 11, Storm of the Blue Cavalry. So if you're hungry for more content like this, then definitely check out those videos on the channel. This video has been brought to you by our lovely patrons over at patreon.com/Vanguard Insider. You guys are amazing. If you do want to support the channel or everything that's happening on the channel, you can simply go to patreon.com/Vanguard Insider and become a patron as well. With that said, I'm Mr. Timely, and I see you guys in the next one!